Are you thinking about moving to Dexter but not really sure what to expect? This video is for you. We're going to talk about the pros, the cons, and everything in between so that you can decide whether or not Dexter is right for you. If this is your first time here, hi, I'm Bailey Walsh. I'm a realtor and I create videos just like this to show people what life is like in cities all over Southeast Michigan. So if you're thinking about buying or selling here in Dexter or any of the surrounding areas, don't hesitate to reach out. You can find all my contact information below, and you can also subscribe to this channel to get more videos like this. If you're just starting the research process on Dexter, I'll give you just a little bit of background. Dexter is part of Washtenaw County. It's considered Southeast Michigan, and it's located along the Huron River and Mill Creek. It was only named a city in 2014, and it was a village before that. So it is a fairly small town. It's got a population of just under 5,000 people, and it's just under 2 square miles. So with that in mind, let's get into some of the pros and cons. If you want to live in a city where there's always something going on, something to do, a restaurant on every corner, tons of nightlife, well, Dexter's probably not right for you. Dexter doesn't really have much nightlife, and while there are some great restaurants and some great shopping, it's just fairly limited compared to what you would find in a bigger city. But that said, Ann Arbor is only about a 15 to 20 minute drive and has a lot of what Dexter is missing in that department. I get it, it's not for everyone, but the small town feel of Dexter is what brings a lot of people here, and it's what a lot of people fall in love with. And the downtown area really is just charming. There's a park right in the middle of town with a gazebo, and there's all kinds of community events throughout the year where everyone gets together. As you walk down the main street, there's so many more independently owned businesses than there are chains. And you feel that when you walk in and they get to know you by your first name, or they ask how your family's doing, or they know your regular order. And overall, I think you just feel a greater sense of community. People really try to get to know each other and look out for each other. And that's just kind of what life is like here in Dexter. This one is really subjective based on where you're coming from and what you're used to, but it's just something I like to mention so that no one is surprised by it. So overall, you might look at the big picture and see that Dexter's property taxes are a bit higher than Pinckney, yet they're quite a bit lower than Ann Arbor and significantly lower than Detroit. It also depends where you're at within a city. If you're right in the city of Dexter or right in the city of Ann Arbor, typically those millage rates are going to be quite a bit higher than if you're in one of the townships that are on the outskirts of the city. So like I said, it's a little subjective because the tax rates are going to depend what city you're comparing to and where you end up within the city, but you can always look up the millage rates online to get a better sense. Well, I can remember being in other cities, and when you're driving down the side of the road and there's just so much trash and litter, or you go to a park or a trail and things are overgrown, or maybe like the trash hasn't been taken out in days. And that's just not the case here. The parks, the trails, they're so well maintained. The city itself is very clean and well taken care of. And it's just one of those things that you don't necessarily notice until you've experienced the opposite. But I love that, some of those tax dollars are going to work and being reinvested into keeping the city a really beautiful place to live. One of the downfalls of Dexter is that the housing market is competitive. More and more people want to live here, and yet the supply isn't increasing at the same rate as that demand. One of the things I love most about living in Dexter is how much the city has invested into its outdoor spaces. There are so many great playgrounds, parks, and trails. There are actually 14 different parks and over 40 miles of non-motorized pathways through the border-to-border trail system. And what's great about these trails is that they're ADA accessible, so they're all paved or made of boardwalk, and it just gives you so many beautiful views of nature. It's a great reason to get outside. While most people do need a car to get around Dexter, it's a great location, and the city itself is very easy to navigate, to get around. There's not a ton of traffic, And granted, there's going to be some times where it's more congested, especially on the main street that runs right through downtown during school pickup, school drop-off, times like that. But overall, very easy to get around. There's tons of free parking downtown, and it's a great location to some of the other bigger cities around. It's only about 15 to 20 minutes to get to Ann Arbor, and it's a pretty close drive to the Detroit airport as well. Of course, it's going to depend where you're coming from, but for me, it's anywhere from 35 to 40 minutes, so not bad at all. And finally, the school system. I know that schools can be a big part of the decision-making process for a lot of people when they're moving to a new city. And while schools aren't something that I can comment on directly as a real estate professional, I can tell you that a lot of my clients are drawn to Dexter for its school systems. And there's also a lot of great tools and resources out there if you want to do a little bit more research on your own. I'm going to show you some examples of some other third-party sites, just what you can do to see their overall rankings, test scores, things like that, along with reviews from actual families who have sent their children there. So definitely do a little bit more research on your own if it's something that's important to you. But of course, don't hesitate to reach out if you have questions about anything within Dexter, because I would love to help. Thanks for watching.